Hi, welcome to my Hybigi Cymru Scholarship presentation entitled Not All Meat is Created Equally. The reason for my topic choice was that I'm really passionate about the subject, but the business which we're in, which is farming, producing meat for human consumption, has a massive environmental impact. It affects animal welfare, and we're also producing food. So quality and safety are key going forward for the business and industry. My research journey, I'm born and bred on Anglesey, which has traditionally been a beef producing area. So I thought that'd be a great place to start. And then from there, I went on to Scotland to see some traditional grass-based systems where they've historically they've been very strong on these types of businesses. But the most exciting part of the scholarship for me was the chance to travel to the USA, which are huge consumers of beef. And I had contacts in California, so I traveled to California and Oregon for 2 weeks to look at grass-based systems, and then on to the highlight of the trip to Texas, which is known for its huge scale mass production. So that was my journey. So I started at a good friend of mine called Dylan Jones's farm, called Castellon in Anglesey. It's a very well-known farm. They're very forward-thinking. They've just won Grassland Farmer of the Year, and they're up for Beef Farmer of the Year in the Farmers Weekly competition. So I thought it'd be a great place to start. They've got for Wales anyway, it's an intensive beef finishing system. It's quite big. It's 800 acres. They finish 2,000 cattle a year, consistently selling 40 to 50 beasts per week. But interestingly, for such an intensive farm, they claim to be net zero, and they've actually tweaked or changed the system a little bit to achieve this. But when I speak to Dylan, it's all about efficiency. I've actually made a little video when I was with Dylan, and we're going to see that now of just about his beef finishing system and how they've achieved net zero. So here it is. So I'm here in the cattle shed, one of the finishing sheds in Castellar, we've been chatting in the house for a while, and I'm here with Dylan Jones. So Dylan, can you just tell us a bit about yourself, and more importantly, the changes you've made in the system to get the farm closer to net zero?
Yep, my name is Dylan Jones. I farm an 800-acre family-run farm on Anglesey, primarily beef and arable, finishing 1,500 head of cattle annually on a self-sufficient system. I think one of the main things we've done was changing the rotation from the farm from a 7-year rotation to a 2 to 3 year rotation, using fast grasses and high protein, high sugar grasses, using very little chemical nitrogen. The other thing that we were looking into was the methane capture on the farm and the days on the farm. We wanted to reduce
the days of the number of days the cattle are on the farm.
The number of the days of the cattle are on the farm.
Yeah.
So we were thinking of ways of reducing that, and very quickly, we're going back maybe 5-6 years ago, we started weighing the cattle and recording that weight. So every steer in this shed has at least 6 to 8 weights beside them today, and a graph just showing how they're performing. And once those steers are plateauing off and not really generating any weight, I think it's time for them to leave. So we pulled that days on farm down from 132 to about 92 days on farm now.
God, that's massive, isn't it?
That's
in terms of saving costs.
Yes, forage and yes, and that's just by monitoring the weight of the cattle. So
their carbon footprint's a lot less as well.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
The one key message I am going to take. So I'm here. So okay, so the key thing I took from Castellar was efficiency in terms of not just in terms of achieving net zero, it's for everything in the business. It's keeping costs down and just having a successful business, really. So efficiency is key in everything, and that's something we can take away to every farming system in Wales, I think. After Castellar, I visited Scotland to visit a few grass-based systems. And the three highlights for me were visiting Jock Gibson, Alex Brewster, and the Beldorney estates. They were all very similar systems. They were all suckle cow system where they were finishing all their cattle off grass, and they all had a direct to market sales. So quality of quality of beef, sorry, was key for them to produce. Here's some examples of the cattle they had. They had traditional breeds. As you can see, there's some Highlands and some Aberdeen Angus. But I visited in December last year, so it was very, very wet in the middle of winter. But they emphasized on the quality meat production. But in conclusion, from Scotland, what I learned was that the grass-based systems they really worked on biodiversity and landscape preservation, where well-managed grass-based systems can they contributed to biodiversity and carbon capture and soil health. The natural grazing systems that they had led to healthier and more a diverse diet for the cattle, but they were healthier. And they claim to this being resulting into a higher beef quality product, especially with flavour and taste. And just going back to the diverse diets, the slower growth rate and the fact they were on the grass is the key to the system. This next bit is a bit more controversial. They claim their meat had nutritional benefits over intensively raised cattle. With the meat had higher fatty acids, higher levels of omega-3, and high levels of vitamins and antioxidants. I didn't see any scientific research papers on this, but they all claimed the same thing. They also claimed to have healthier animals, and they claimed to have less proneness to disease and health issues with animals raised on high grain diets, confinement. Saying this, I did see cattle on the Castellar farm on Anglesey. There was nothing wrong with those cattle. They were happy, contented. They were very, very healthy, and importantly, they were putting on meat really well as well. From Scotland, I went on to the USA, and the first 2 weeks of travel there took me to California and Oregon, where I flew into San Francisco and headed north. I visited 12 different ranches, but the three that stood out for me were Nine Peaks Ranch that was Oregon, Tehama Angus Ranch in California, and Stemple Creek Ranch. They were all similar type farms, so you could compare them quite easily. Grass-based. They were all huge farms, all running Angus cattle. I've got a little video to show you of Mr. Erin Borra, who was the owner of Nine Peaks Ranch in Oregon. Just a little summary for you now. His ranch was 90,000 acres. He only had 250 cows over the 90,000 acres, all grass-based finishing. But it was so big, he had an aeroplane to check the stock. And this is him. I'll show you a little video now of him.
I'm Aaron Bohr, Nine Peaks Ranch, South Central Oregon, and we have a registered Angus herd of about, now it's only about 350 cows, and but they run on 90,000 acres, and mostly non-irrigated. There's a few acres of irrigated grass, so we can make some hay for the winter. but
90,000 acres. So
90,000 acres.
how do you plan to check your cattle every day if you've got 90,000 acres?
Oh, well, I got my pilot's license, so I'm looking into buying a Cub airplane to scout them out every morning, see where they are, and make sure they have water, which would be an all-day job if I didn't do it in an airplane.
You've been farming for 25 years or more there, have you?
This is my 50th year.
50th year, okay.
In the Angus business.
Have you seen many changes in the 50 years?
Oh yeah.
What are the...
Mostly technology.
Oh, yeah, okay, which helps, obviously.
It just makes it different. It gives you numbers to measure by.
Oh, yeah, okay.
What you do with those numbers and how you select is up to everybody's different preference.
Consider nature conservation. Animals,
oh yeah,
birds.
Oh yeah. We have a lot of environmental groups up in Central Oregon that.
And you're farming alongside nature.
And they've brought the latest thing is they've brought in wolves, reintroduced wolves into our area without any information or asking us or anything.
Are they protected?
Yes. Yeah.
And do they leave your cows alone?
I haven't. Well, I have had a loss or two, but it could be a lot. It's going to be worse if they get more as they breed up in population.
Cool.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a challenge. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks very much.
Yeah. I'm Aaron Bohr.
Let's move on the slide. So my conclusions for California and Oregon. I observed a growing emphasis on implementing carbon sequestration practices to mitigate the environmental impact of beef production there. But their key strategies were they were taking on board things like rotational grazing to enhance carbon sequestration. They were really working on soil health management, but they were also integrating trees and shrubs to their ranches, which helped carbon sequestration, but also helped with things like shelter and shade when it's really, really hot, which that's a growing concern there. These ranches also were being paid conservation easements where they were keeping the land exactly how it was to protect sensitive habitats and limit development in California and Oregon, which is securing their future in terms of ensuring they can carry on sequestering carbon as they are now. From there, I went to the most exciting part of my trip, where I really wanted to go to, was Texas, where I visited 6 ranches and 4 feedlots. But it's the feedlots that I really wanted to see, because it's something I've read about but never seen, and I wasn't to be disappointed. The production capacity of these feedlots are just meant to be amazing. The biggest feedlot I went to was the USA feedlot at the top of the Panhandle in Texas. They finished 150,000 cattle per year. They used 760 tons of feed a day, and they had 90 staff. One thing I'll never forget is when I was driving to these feedlots, each one that I visited, when the sat-nav on the car said 3 or 4 miles to go, there was a distinct aroma in the air. You could even smell it inside the cab. And this was when it was -5 to -10 degrees. You could smell the ammonia. It was like being in a UK sheep slaughterhouse lairage, where the ammonia, it actually stung your eyes to begin with and really got you at the back of the throat. And when you spent the day there, it felt like I had a bit of a sore throat. The USA feed yard, it was just massive. They had their own They even had their own gas filling station. It was similar to a motorway services in the UK, and the setup's just amazing, really. I've got a little video. This wasn't of a feedlot here, so you can see for yourselves. But this wasn't the USA feedlot. I wasn't allowed to take a camera in there. But this one, hopefully you can see this video, is of another feedlot in Hereford in Texas. So hopefully you could see it from there. It's like for example, one of the feedlots, it took us 2.5 hours just driving around looking at each yard. It was just unbelievable, really. And one day in Texas, I also spent with a team of Mexican contractors. I did ask them if I could call them that. They said yes. Their job was to go around each feedlot, and they were doing any management things like weighing, dosing, applying fly repellent. But on this day, they were giving out growth promoting hormonal implants to each of the cattle, which all cattle in Texas have. When I spoke to the managers of the feedlots, they all said that it wouldn't be viable running their business without these growth promoting implants. And it was just an amazing system. We were doing up to 450 cattle every hour, just implanting them. It was like a factory, really. But these feedlots, the production capacity was amazing. It is the most impressive farming system I've ever seen. Their feed efficiency is amazing. Nothing is wasted. The growth performance of the cattle is absolutely top notch. They've invested heavily in genetics, so that when they buy a 6-month-old weaned calf and brought it into the feedlot, they'll know exactly how much that carcass is going to weigh in a year's time. And one thing you could not miss from driving around these feedlots is that the consistency of the product they were producing. Every single beast in each corral, as they called them, were exactly the same weight, same fat cover, same size, everything really. So it was amazing, and they produce so much food. Of the feed that they put in their mix, it's mainly 75% is maize corn, which is crushed. But then with this, they put a little bit of hay, but then they add palm oil for the protein source, which is mostly grown in Brazil, from where the rainforest is cut down. They also feed bone meal, or beef tallow as they call it, which is a protein source which is banned in this country. And in the feedlot, from day one till day when they're gone off for slaughter, they've had ad lib antibiotics in the feed constantly, and with no withdrawal. But and on top of this, they use their growth promoters. So I don't think Wales could ever compete with the USA in terms of that. They have very different rules and regulations. They have no traceability. I saw one pen of cattle in Texas that had come from Hawaii, all the way from Hawaii to be finished. There was many pens from Costa Rica and Mexico that I saw. They have no NVZs. And I've also said that growth promoter hormonal implants are the norm, just accepted. But Texas do have their own problems. They have real shortage of water, which is going to implement their production in the future. So they're working on that, which is key going forward. So it was a real eye-opener, but it just makes you show the variation between the different systems of meat production. So my scholarship conclusions, each beef system that I saw had its own strength and weakness. Grass-based systems promote biodiversity, natural grazing, and could potentially result in a higher quality, more flavorful meat. The innovative systems in California and Oregon emphasize sustainable practices and technology, but a lot of it was driven by consumer change. The large-scale feedlots in Texas contributed to production, efficiency, and consistency. But as I've already said, the environmental impact varies significantly across each system. But the main message I want to give from this scholarship is that we've got an amazing product here in Wales, and as farmers and Hubby Cymru, we need to continue sharing our story. And I think that transparency and storytelling are crucial for the meat industry to empower consumers to make an informed choice and drive towards a more sustainable practice, maybe, if that's what the consumer wants. Just say thank you very much to Hubby Cymru. It's been amazing. It was life. I think it's been a life-changing experience. I've grown as a person since traveling to the USA. I think I'm in a better place going forward in my own farming business, and hopefully the whole of the Welsh farming industry can take something and learn from it, what we're doing. But from the Hubby Cymru scholarship, I've built on this, and I've been awarded a Nuffield Farming Scholarship where I'm going to build on this, so this is only going to get better. Thank you very much. Stop sharing.